pretty soon.
Oh, we're gonna look so hot later.
Oh, God. Watch out, Manchester.
Watch out, girls. Or boys.
All right. Thank you. I know.
Your public adores you, Peter White.
I don't even know why. I'm not tired today either. I feel great. All right, keep it right here. You got Matt Connarton Unleashed coming up at 4 p.m., followed by the Majestic Theater's Through the Stage Door with Robert Dion.
Songs for motivation.
I need that.
On these dank mornings, Broadway songs of motivation.
All right. And, yeah, keep it right here. Have a great day, everybody. The sun is shining. Adios.
This hour on WMNH is sponsored by CGI Business Solutions, located at 5 Dartmouth Drive in Auburn. They serve all your business needs, including employee benefits planning, corporate design and business administration, investments and wealth management, and customized business insurance solutions. Their phone number is 866-841-4600 or on the web at cgibusinesssolutions.com.
Bring your kitchen to life with Queen City Cabinetry, located at 87 Elm Street in the historic Sunbeam Mall in Manchester. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They can be reached at 603-222-2007 or on the web at queencitycabinetrynh.com. Come see the possibilities. Queen City Cabinetry, another proud sponsor of WMNH.
Clemento's Pizzeria, family friendly, awesome for a date night. Clemento's Pizzeria. For delivery, call 603-782-8450. Clemento's Pizzeria, the best pizza in town. 1875 South Willow Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. Best cocktails around. Come in as friends and leave as family.
Come on down to the Hop Knot at 1000 Elm Street, Manchester's premier craft beer and gourmet pretzel bar. Tell us more, Trudy.
We make our dough fresh every day. We make a variety of styles of pretzels and serve craft beer, cocktails, and a few bottles of wine. We do the traditional pretzel, and we have multiple flavors for that. We also do stuffed pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, 3 dessert pretzels, and pretzel knots.
The Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street.
This October, if you notice a Raleigh Fingers, Chevron, or Handlebar out and about, know it's in support of your local Child Advocacy Center by officers that work day in and day out to help child victims of abuse. So every chin cozy, Fu Manchu, and Big Poppy you see isn't just a fashion statement, it's raising money for our kids. Donate today at beardsforbucks.org.
You are listening to WMNH-LP, Manchester's radio, broadcasting at 95.3 megahertz frequency modulation from the top of 1000 Elm Street. Our studios are located at 1045 Elm Street and licensed to Manchester Public Television Service in Manchester, New Hampshire, USA. Contact us by email at WMNH953@gmail.com or through our website at WMNHradio.org.
here. The end is near, your flesh will burn. It goes on and on and on.
everybody, welcome. Here we go. It's that time again. Matt Connerton Unleashed. Now, this is the moment, of course, where I do the whole big intro to the show. I tell you, we're live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. And it is glorious, by the way. This weather is truly glorious. However, in the Facebook live chat, now Nick Murdoch, who, and by the way, I'm starting to think he works here. And we've just never met. I think he's in an office somewhere else in the building. I ran into the big boss earlier. I said, hey, is this Nick Murdoch? Is he on the payroll here now? And, he just kind of laughed and kept walking. I was like, oh, that's strange. But so Nick put this in the Facebook live chat. He said, Matt, the suits and marketing told me we need to capture a younger demo, so today's copy will be different than what you are used to. So here's what Nick has asked me to say in my opening today. Yo, what's up, fam? It's ya boy, Matty C, pumping that Matt Connerton Unleashed straight into your ear holes. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click that bell so you don't miss out on any turnt episodes. You can also listen on WMNH 95.3 FM or on Comcast 97 in Manchester. But yo, it's 2022, no cap, so yeet your TVs and radios out of the window. Get on those phones and tablets and stream from mattconnerton.com. We want to hear from you. Spill your tea on Twitter at Matt Connerton or email matt@mattconnerton.com. But yo, check it. It would be totes lit if we could hear and enjoy the dulcet tones of your voice. So call 603-250-6007 and it's all be Gucci. We stand the Hop Knots pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, and pretzel pizzas located in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street. That place is straight fire, no cap. Speaking of straight fire, point your web browser to faceofhorror.org/2022/Melanie-Federson to vote for ya straight fire girl Melanie and support the Andrew McDonough B+ Foundation at the same time. And remember to get out on November 8 and vote for ya boy Rocky Huber. Just bust out a pen and write his name in anywhere you can. High key, we simp for that snack daddy rock. Wow. How do you think? By the way, I did not pre-read that. So how do you think I did? And by the way, so Nick understands that it is important when you do a program like this to appeal to the youth. We need a young, hip audience, so I didn't mute my phone. We need a young, hip audience to have a successful show. So, it's important that, that I come across as a hep cat and not some jive turkey. You know what I mean? So got to be young and hip, especially with this. My hair's getting gray. My hair, I do have a lot of gray hair, although it's far from completely gray. But this is a little bit of a tangent. I found my first gray hair when I was like 19. And I thought at the time, and I know my dad listens to the show, so I don't think he'll mind me talking about this. But my father kind of had the Steve Martin thing where by the time he was like 30, he was completely gray. So I thought when I found my first gray, I remember the moment I was 19 years old and I was looking in the mirror. I was getting ready for work one morning and I was like, wait, is that a gray hair on my head? I actually found two of them that day. And I thought, oh, here we go. I'm going to be just like my dad. But it hasn't happened. Instead, what has occurred is over all these years, it's been coming in, but very gradually. It's funny. I've known people whose hair starts to turn gray. And once it starts to turn gray, it goes very quickly. Mine has just been moving at a crawl over all these years. So, and, obviously it's, I have more than I ever have because and I assume eventually it will all turn gray, but it's just been very, very gradual. But, it's funny. Brendan, who works here, said to me one day, he said, before the show, he was in here trying to help with something technical. He said, is your hair gray? I said, dude, my hair's been gray for, to some degree since you've known me. Anyway, Nick in the chat room says, LOL, that was amazing. I'm glad I did you proud, Nick Murdoch. I'm glad I did you proud. But yes, 603-250-6007. And by the way, I am young and hip because I knew most of what that meant. Even words like yeet, I know what it means to yeet something, to pull something away or something like that. I knew there was something. No cap. I didn't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I've never heard that before. No cap. But of course, I know what straight fire is and all that. Yes. I like that actually. Straight fire. You know, I have had to use some of that terminology. It's been a long time since we have visited that. But of course, my hip hop alter ego, M Sizzle, uses some of that type of verbiage in his raps. I say his because it's like he's an alternate personality. I'm insane. I don't know if you all knew that. So there you go. So when I become M Sizzle, I talk like that shizzle, but I won't do that as me because I'm just me. But anyway, M Sizzle came to me after a severe head injury. It's a long story. I used to be a trapeze artist, and I fell one day, and then I became M Sizzle for a while. It's all very strange, and frankly, it's a bit sordid. So I won't tell the story here. But 603-250-6007 is the number, 603-250-6007. Of course, you can text me at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connerton. Send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. And of course, you can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do so that we can hear and enjoy your dulcet tones is give us a call at 603-250-6007. And before we get into some stuff, and we have a busy chat room already. We will say hello to everybody in the Facebook live chat. But so we have some exciting programming notes for you. So tomorrow on the program, we got a big show. We have a very busy show tomorrow. So tomorrow is Friday, which means, of course, we have Eric Pilcher's classic film review. And this week, Eric has chosen Psycho. Eric has chosen all Alfred Hitchcock films for the month of October. And it is a Psycho tomorrow. But we won't be doing it in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll actually be doing it a little bit early at 4:30 because we have an amazing guest at 5 p.m. tomorrow, which I'll tell you about in a moment. But we do have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connerton Unleashed. Who's this? Hello.
Hey, I'm going to be on the air in a few minutes.
You're on the air right
Charles
now.
Richardson Show.
You're on the air right now, sir. You're on the air right now. Is this a recording?
Charles is a good psychiatrist.
I think this is a recording.
When he wants to be.
Charles is not a psychiatrist. This is clearly a recording.
All right. I'm getting ready. Your boy.
And it's Thursday, and it's Thursday, and Charles isn't on Thursday, so clearly this is a recording. All right. Well, that was wonderful and informative. It is Thursday, right? Yes, it is Thursday. So tomorrow on the show, we have of course Eric Pilcher's classic film review. It is Psycho. We'll be doing that at 4:30 tomorrow. Then at 5 p.m. Oh, and by the way, I would be remiss if I don't remind you, it is also a very special day tomorrow. It is the 1-year anniversary of Eric's classic film reviews here on Matt Connerton Unleashed. So we're very happy about that. We actually have a couple of anniversaries we're celebrating tomorrow here at WMNH, but that's the first one. So we'll be doing that a little earlier than usual in tomorrow's show because at 5 p.m. we have a guest, Otto Kinzel from the band Dust Prophet. And in fact, the opening song today, When the Axe Falls, that was Otto's band, Dust Prophet. He's going to be joining us tomorrow at 5 p.m. He'll actually be on Skype. He can't physically make it to the studio, but he will be joining us via Skype. So we'll still have a phone line open. So if you have any questions or anything for Otto, you'll be able to dial in. And we will be doing the world radio premiere of the brand new single from Dust Prophet, which I heard today. I got a preview of it, of course, and it is amazing. It is called Put to the Question. Brand new single from Dust Prophet. Tomorrow will be the world radio premiere. The first time this song has been played anywhere in the world on the radio will be tomorrow afternoon. So Otto will be joining us in the second hour. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the big show coming up November 5th at Jewel Swarmy Fest, headlined by Sepsis. Of course, Dust Prophet is on that show as well. And also appearing on that show is Day to Attend. And Day to Attend will be here next week on Wednesday for a live in-studio acoustic performance. So we've got that coming up next week as well. Just booked that today. But Swarmy Fest is going to be a big deal. Jenny and I will be there because I'm also involved in the show. So looking forward to that. I'll probably be been batting some ideas around with William from Sepsis. I might be introducing some bands. We'll see what happens. But that's going to be a great night. But anyway, so big show tomorrow. We've got Eric's classic film review, and we've got Otto Kinzel from Dust Prophet joining us. And of course, Otto's an old friend. He's kind of special to me because I used to play in a band with Otto called Chemical Distance, which we have featured one of our songs on the show, Red Queen's Race, kind of our little local hit song. We did get some airplay with that at college radio stations, but. So 603-250-6007 is the number, 603-250-6007. If you would like to join me on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. But let's say hello to everybody in the Facebook live chat, and then we'll get into some stuff. There is a number of things in the news today that I would like to get to. Let's see. Nick Murdoch, of course, is in there. Oh, Eric Pilcher also joins us in the chat room, says, hello, my friends and fam. Eric, not only is he our classic film reviewer, but he's our listener in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. There you go. Jenny, of course, is in the chat room. Hello. And Jenny says, shalom, peeps. Also, Jason Fedderson joins us. Hello. Jenny said, do it again, but faster. I could. You know what? I'll do it. I'll do it in the second hour. I will do it again, but I'll do it faster in the second hour. I bet. I think I can. I think I can nail it. The intro that Nick wrote. Tom Blanchard joins us and says, I have good news. As you might remember, my car club, Jack Customs Foundation, has broken up after 6 years, which is sad, but we have $10,000 in our bank account, so we're doing one more event. We're buying $10,000 worth of bicycles for Toys for Tots this year. That is awesome, Tom. Good for you. That is excellent, excellent. I'm glad to hear about that. Very good cause. Jason Fedderson says, I hear if you do not want to turn gray, because I was talking about my gray hair earlier, for those of you just joining us, and you want to keep it natural, you must eat pineapple pizza. I read that on the internet, so it must be true. How dare you, sir? How dare you? I mean, I still like you, but how dare you suggest such a thing? I would rather... now, look, I've said on the show, I've said it many times, I'll reiterate it. I'm not a religious person myself, but I do believe that pineapple on pizza is a sin against God. And therefore, I would rather have gray hair in this life than risk eternal damnation. I'll just say that. I mean, I know it's Halloween time, so, it's cool to think about hell and stuff, but it's not that cool. You know what I mean? I don't think I would do well. Two places I don't think I would do well. Prison and hell. I'm too pretty for either one. That's all I can say about that. Mike Palapita joins us in the chat, of course, from another one of our great sponsors here at WMNH 95.3 Queen City Cabinetry in the historic Sunbeam Mall. John Hopwood joins us and says, has Ron called yet? Not yet, John. Not yet. Oh, Jason Fedderson says twice. I should have just gone with it. Let's see. John Hopwood says, why not buy $10,000 worth of robot girlfriends for disabled vets? Well, that would also be a great cause, of course. We always want to do things for veterans. And yesterday we were talking when John was here. Yes, that was yesterday on the show about AI bots and the interesting, let's just say some interesting technology coming down the pike with that. Interesting things happening there. Scott Robinson is in the chat, and Scott says, Matt, I have a question. Do you think that you will ever perform... no, we don't talk about that person anymore. So the answer is no, Scott. We don't even mention his name, and he is dead to us. We put him on the list of people who are dead to us here. Unfortunately. I'm sad that it came to that, but it came to that. Let's see. All right. 603-250-6007 is the number, 603-250-6007. Oh, one other thing, too, about the Hopknot. I do want to remind you, because they do sponsor us, that tonight is Trivia Night at the Hopknot, a very popular feature there. But if you are going to participate, of course, it's hosted by the great Bill Cini. If you are going to participate, I strongly suggest that you call ahead and reserve a spot if there is a spot still available to reserve, because it is a very, very popular feature there at the Hop Knot. So that is tonight. Trivia night is tonight every Thursday. Tomorrow night, they have live music. Taylor O'Donnell is performing there. And the other anniversary that I wanted to mention too before we get into some news is tomorrow night is the 2-year anniversary of Retro Spectrum Radio on WMNH 95.3. That's the other anniversary, the other big anniversary we've got. Scott Robinson says, well, I guess I'm out of the loop. Yeah, someone will explain it to you in the chat room, Scott, I'm sure. Yes. Oh, John Hopwood says Google has patented a sex spot. Well, someone had to. That's very exciting. Pun fully intended. Now, let's start with this. Now, this is not on anyone's. Jason Feddersen says in the chat, "Oh, geez, I knew he screwed up, but I didn't realize he was dead to you. I have a feeling you really, really need to screw up bad." He's no, I don't mean he's no. I mean, look, we just don't talk about him anymore on the program, on any of the shows here at WMNH. That's all. That's all. He's on the list. We have a list. You know, we used to have it. It's funny, actually. Back in the day, Peter White of the morning show and we used to share an S list. We called it the S list, because you can't say the actual word on the radio. And, and we would, Gonzo would be on there sometimes. And I think John Hopwood was on there at one point. And, various people would be on it. EZG was always ending up on it. We'd put people on, we'd take people off, and we'd kind of share it, until the bit got old. And then we just kind of let it go because, the whole bit ran its course. But then there actually is an actual list that we just keep in our minds or in our text messages of people who, it was a bit back then, but there is an actual list of people we've accumulated over the year whom we no longer speak of or acknowledge. Nick Murdoch says, you can say the S word on radio. It's just not free. That's right. Yes. There will be a fine issued by the FCC if it gets to them. And, and also the possibility that I won't be back the next day. That's also possible. Oh, Scott Robinson says, Easy considered it a badge of honor, that list. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He had many scandals. So we have a number of things, of course, in political news and so forth that I want to get to today, but something that has nothing to do with that directly, but that I just thought was interesting. So if you've been listening to the show for a while, you might have heard me talk about, and we do talk about, things going on in media, things going on in broadcasting, but also not only in traditional terrestrial media like FM radio, but also in the podcasting world and the streaming world. And it's all kind of one thing at this point, right? It's all kind of mushed together anyway. For example, this show, we're on FM radio, but we also stream online and the podcast goes up online for people to listen to later and so forth. It's all I just think of it as all one big mashed together thing. I don't even separate it all in my mind anymore in that sense, other than, of course, being on FM radio, we have to follow regulations, as I was just talking about. But so I have talked about on the show about how I stopped putting this show on YouTube. For a while I was, and I stopped for a specific reason, because I kept getting dinged for violating their, I kept getting strikes. That's what they call them. I kept getting strikes for violating their policies. And this is something that we talk about a lot on the show. It's been news recently when Kanye West, when he started saying his anti-Semitic things and was immediately kicked off. What was he kicked off of Instagram and I think Twitter, maybe. I'm not sure. I forget what Elon Musk had to say about it exactly. But, and of course, people are no longer doing business with him and so forth. But it's an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing discussion about how social media and these streaming platforms, how they regulate speech. And some people actually think that, I call it the town square argument when people are talking about Facebook and Twitter specifically. Some people think, and it tends to be, you hear this on the left, although I've heard a couple of conservatives say this, but some people think that the government should actually take over Facebook because people have become so reliant on it. People are so dependent on it for their communication, and that, the government should just, I don't know how that would work exactly, but it should be federalized somehow. Or I don't agree with that, by the way, personally. I think that would be disastrous, and I think it would be, you wouldn't solve any kind of a real problem with it. In fact, you'd actually make it worse. But so I don't want to get sidetracked with that, but I think it's a terrible idea. But yeah, the town square argument, because people say, oh, well, Facebook has become a town square. So it should be treated like a public utility. And I don't agree for a number of reasons, but we'll put that aside. But it is interesting to see how these social media companies deal with speech that some may find offensive. Hello to our friend Crystal from Illinois who joins us. And of course, different social media platforms have different views on what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and what may be harmful, what may incite violence, and so on. And it's an ongoing discussion, and I'm fascinated by it all. But I've been directly affected. Hello. Oh, Charles Richardson, his ears must have been burning. He's in the chat room. Hello, Charles. I've been fascinated by it all. And of course, working in this medium, I'm interested in it, and it affects me. Now, I understand why. Now, I'm not a conservative, but you'll often hear conservatives talk about being driven from YouTube, for example, to other platforms like Rumble or BitChute, other places, Odyssey, other places where they can put their content because YouTube is giving them a hard time. And my experience has been that, so I stopped putting this show on YouTube specifically because, like I said, I kept getting strikes. But the strikes I was getting were not fair. Because I was actually getting strikes for the opposite of what I was actually doing. So the two things I kept getting strikes for, I got struck more than once for what they call medical misinformation. This is what they tell you when they issue you a strike. So I got a strike for a couple times for medical misinformation, which is what it means in this context is, in other words, if you're spreading conspiracy theories, anti-vax or COVID denier propaganda on YouTube, they don't want you doing that, and they give you a strike for that. Now, I've never done that. If you're a longtime listener or even a short-term listener of the show, I very much would never do that. I'm what I call a COVID hawk. I take COVID-19 very seriously. I've been approached by people who, and I like to have a lot of different types of people and with different viewpoints on the show and participating in the program. But I've had a couple of people actually approach me about wanting to have conversations on the show from the standpoint of being an anti-masker or an anti-vaxxer or a COVID denier. And I've said no. I've flatly said no, we're not doing that. I will talk to people. I'm always happy to talk to people I disagree with. And if you want to, if you're kind of on that side of the argument and you want to have a policy discussion with me on the air, maybe you don't agree with the shutdowns that were done, or you don't like vaccine mandates. Not that anyone's forced to get vaccinated, but you don't like mask mandates, whatever it is. If you want to have a policy discussion with me on the air, I'm always open to that. Absolutely, we can do that. But I'm just not going to have someone come on and spew their COVID denier nonsense or their, or some sort of anti-vax, propaganda, because they watched a Jenny McCarthy YouTube video and now they're convinced that vaccines cause autism and all this other unproven, unsubstantiated nonsense. I'm not going to do that because, again, I like to have people come on who disagree with me. I like to have dissenting voices. I don't want it to just be, an exercise in groupthink, which a lot of political talk radio is, frankly. But certain lines have to be drawn, certain standards have to be set. And when we're talking about a matter of public health, No, I'm not going to let you come on and spew your conspiracy theory nonsense about COVID-19 and all that. So, in other words, I say all that to say, and I took the long way around, but I fight against all of that. But I've been dinged for spreading medical misinformation, and I know why it happens. It's not an actual human at YouTube who hears my content and makes that determination. It's a bot. You know, we've been talking about bots and AI and all of it, and it's not perfect, clearly, because what happens is, this is my theory, it's a bot that picks up me talking about somebody else's nonsense. Just like if I were to put today's show on YouTube because of this discussion we're having right now, what would happen? I would get dinged for it, so I'm not going to do it, right? Even though if you actually listen to it with human ears, you'll hear what I'm doing, but a bot doesn't know. So a bot, hears COVID denial or anti-vax and says, oh, got to ding him. He's violating our terms of service. So I've had a couple of strikes for that, even though, again, I'm a COVID hawk. I'm not a COVID denier. Far from it. The other thing I've gotten a strike for is what they call spreading false information about the 2020 election. Again, that's not what I do. I do the opposite. I push back on all that nonsense. I debunk it. I talk about how I don't understand election deniers. If you can look at Rudy Giuliani standing in front of Four Seasons Landscaping and Lawn Care with black goop dripping down his face, telling you a bunch of rambling nonsense that if you actually read the transcript of it doesn't add up to anything. If you can believe that, then I can't believe you. And I can't take you serious. So, in other words, I don't do that. I don't spread false information about the 2020 election. I call BS on all that, much like Bill Barr did, right? William Barr, Trump's own attorney general, absolutely a Trump loyalist through and through. Even Bill Barr told Trump to his face, it's all BS, except he didn't say BS. He used the actual word, which again, we can't say here. So, no, I call BS on all that, but just by discussing it, I get dinged for spreading false information about the election. Easy G's calling, but Eric, I'm going to ask you to call back because I'm in the middle of something. I want to make this point before I move on to something else. So I understand when people say, and conservatives run into it a lot, and I'm not a conservative, but I am empathetic to what they deal with these, with the bots. Don't get me wrong. I've also seen like Steven Crowder, who I think has been banned from YouTube. I'm not sure, but Steven Crowder, for example, he has posted some things where it's like, yeah, absolutely, they should. That's pretty blatantly racist, and because I think he is racist, but I also understand where it comes to a point where these social media platforms, because of how the bots work, they make it difficult to have open dialogue. So I'm sympathetic to that. Now, the reason I'm talking about this today is something has happened that kind of blows my whole theory about how this works. Part of my theory about how this works. Not the whole theory. Because while this has happened to me, while I've been dinged by YouTube for doing the opposite of what I actually do in many cases, oh God, Nick Murdoch says Steven Crowder is still on YouTube. You got me all excited to see him go. Oh, wow. I don't know why. I thought maybe he got kicked off of somewhere else. Well, that's disappointing. So here was my theory, because as this is happening and I'm getting these dings, I keep wondering, why is it that other people can do this? I see plenty of content creators, people with massively successful YouTube channels, which I'm not. I mean, I'm a tiny guppy in an ocean of content creators, and there's some pretty big fish out there, some whales, right? Like Steven Crowder, I suppose, because everyone knows who Steven Crowder is. And apparently, he is still on YouTube. That's unfortunate, frankly. But I couldn't figure out. So why is it that other people can do this stuff? Other people can talk about these subjects and not get penalized for it unfairly, but I do. And then I thought, well, you know what I think it is? If you are on YouTube and you've got thousands of subscribers, if you're somebody with, 10,000 or 20,000 or 100,000 subscribers or whatever, and your content is just generating thousands of hits, then you probably do get the benefit of, you can appeal it. If something does happen, you can appeal it. And then an actual human checks your content and says, oh, okay. And then that penalty is removed. That was my assumption. By the way, when this first started happening to me, I would get dinged, but it would offer me an opportunity to appeal it, to appeal the strike. So then I would appeal the strike, and then the strike would remain in place. They would reject the appeal. Another bot. My hope was when you appeal it, you get an actual human to check it out. But no, because if it were an actual human, then they would be able to discern what I was actually doing. So anyway, but then I realized if you have an enormously successful YouTube channel, you're going to get special treatment. They're going to, if the bot detects something on your channel that might be, that might run afoul of their terms of service, an actual human will probably evaluate it, because, it certainly doesn't help YouTube's business model to be suspending or kicking off these hugely successful people on these content creators on YouTube, right? So that was my assumption. Okay, so I'm a small fry. I get the short end of the stick here. And by the way, I do want to clarify something, and then I'll tell you how my theory may have been wrong. I want to clarify. I am not doing the whole poor me, my freedom of speech is being infringed upon by YouTube. I'm not doing that. I hear people do that all the time. No. My First Amendment is not being infringed upon. That's not what I'm complaining about when I say this. These companies, any social media company, these are private companies. They have every right to make decisions about what is and is not acceptable on their platforms, and who they do not want, who they do want and who they do not want on their platforms. They have every right to do that as private businesses. So I'm not saying that. I'm not saying now, if these were to become public utilities legally, where the government took over, well, yeah, then you could say, if you're not allowed to say certain things or allowed to participate, oh, my First Amendment rights are being, because the government isn't letting me participate in this town square, so my First Amendment rights are being infringed upon. Then you could say it credibly, right? But no, these are private companies. So that's not where I'm coming from. I don't want to sound like I'm one of these people who goes, oh, my First Amendment's being impeded on. And no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it's frustrating, but it's got nothing to do with my First Amendment rights. And besides, you can say whatever you want to under the First Amendment, but that doesn't mean, freedom of speech is not freedom from consequence. There may be consequences for what you say. But here's where my theory might have been wrong. So there is a YouTuber, and I guess he's also big on Twitch. I have a Twitch account, but I've never used it. Although I'm interested in it. And Twitch, of course, it started out as for gamers, but now a lot of people, although actually Vosh, the content creator I'm thinking of, he does do gaming on Twitch, but he also does a lot of political commentary. Personally, I'm not a gamer. I couldn't care less about it, but I do enjoy a lot of his political commentary and analysis. Vosh, if you're looking for him, it's VAUSH. And by the way, just because I'm a fan and I enjoy his commentary, that doesn't mean I agree with him on everything. People get the wrong idea. I've learned that over the years, just sharing stuff out. Oh, listen to this take, listen to this viewpoint. This is interesting analysis here. And then people go, oh, so you're a fan of this person. And then they assume that you agree with them on everything. I don't agree with Vosh on everything. Vosh is a Marxist, okay? He calls himself a Marxist. I'm not a Marxist, but I find some of his content very interesting, even if I don't agree with a lot of it. And I think it's important, by the way, I think we should all expose ourselves to content that we don't necessarily agree with everything that's being said. Keeps the neurons firing, so you don't just fall into a groupthink confirmation bias bubble, which is how most people prefer to exist. But I think that's unfortunate. But my theory about why some content creators are left alone and don't get penalized may have been wrong, because Vosh ran into something similar to what I ran into, obviously on a much larger scale. He's hugely successful. He's got thousands and thousands of subscribers. But Vosh, he has two YouTube channels, one called Vosh and one called Vosh Pit, the Vosh Pit. And he got strikes, and I think on both of them he's on his second strike. And once they give you a strike, it lasts for 3 months. So if he gets a third strike within 3 months, he actually loses his YouTube channels. But what he did was he was talking about this. I lost it now. I had it. There was a Republican candidate. Oh, here it is. Let me just give you a quick backstory on what he was talking about here. This is from The Guardian. Incendiary Republican ads boasting of hunting rivals raise fears of violence. Just to give you an idea here, if you don't know about this story. So this is from The Guardian. Before the Capitol attack on January 6th, Robert Pape, a University of Chicago professor, had studied political violence around the world, but not in the United States because there had not been much to examine, he said. Pape worries that that could soon change because of politicians like Eric Greitens, a former Navy SEAL from Missouri running for Senate, who recently released an advertisement in which he racked a shotgun and led a team of armed men as they stormed a house to hunt more moderate members of his own party, known derisively as rhinos, as in Republican in name only. And by the way, in the quote-unquote modern Republican Party, Republican in name only, rhino, the meaning has changed a bit just in very recent times. It used to mean if you were a moderate. In other words, if you didn't take the far right position on everything, people would call you a rhino. Or if you were engaged in any kind of bipartisan effort with someone from across the aisle, people would call you a rhino. People from your own party, they would call you a rhino. Oh, he's just a rhino. Look at him being nice to that Democrat. But today, it's changed. Now it just means if you're not MAGA, if you're a non-MAGA or an anti-MAGA Republican, you're a rhino. That's what it means now. So Greitens actually says in the ad, and by the way, he's a former Republican governor. He says, quote, "Join the MAGA crew, get a rhino hunting permit. There's no bagging limit, no tagging limit, and it doesn't expire until we save the country," unquote. So there you go. I don't want to go through the whole article because that's not the point of why I bring it up. But this is what Vosh was talking about in a video. He was talking about this ad, and he did play the ad of this guy Greitens with his ad sort of glamorizing and glorifying the idea of going and actually shooting, doing a home invasion into the home of a non-MAGA Republican and killing them. And, now, by the way, do I think that this guy actually wants to go and murder Republicans who don't like Trump? Probably not. But even just the dramatization of it in a political ad, I think is inappropriate, and I think it's frightening, and I think it potentially incites violence. Don't you? Well, Vosh thought so too. So Vosh did a video about it. Well, guess what YouTube did? And again, he's a content creator with thousands and thousands of subscribers. YouTube gave him a strike. Said you're promoting and inciting political violence with your content. But all he did was he showed the ad and then he gave his take on it, which is basically the same thing that I just said and the same thing that's being said in this article in The Guardian. Like, this is nuts. You shouldn't do this. This kind of ad, don't get me wrong. I'm sure it's effective, and I'm sure a lot of cosplaying army guys who like to, hang out in the woods and, talk about how much they love Trump. I'm sure they were very energized by seeing it. I'm sure it gets the adrenaline going for those guys. But it's not okay. It's not okay. Anyway, Vosh got he got strikes on both his YouTube channels for talking about this ad. So anyway, point of that is it blows my theory. My theory was if you're a big enough YouTuber, they're not going to mess with you because they'll actually pay a little bit closer attention to what you're doing and they'll realize you don't deserve a strike. And he gets a strike anyway. So now I don't know what to think. Now, and I think he said he appealed it and they denied the appeal. So yeah, it's just crazy. All right. Anyway, that was my piece on that. EZG, if you're still listening, you can call back in if you'd like. I didn't want to take your call in the middle of that. I wanted to finish up on that subject because I had a lot to say about it. Or if you'd like to get in with a call, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. Actually, I think I have a message. I think I have a Facebook message from EZG. He says, something suddenly came up. I will call with a redo of my mini entertainment report on Freaking Friday around 4:30. That will not work, EZG, because I would love to have a redo of your entertainment report. And actually, I do have time today. If you'd like to do that today, you can. But tomorrow we have a pretty full show. We've got Eric Pilcher's classic film review, and we have a guest, Otto Kinzel from the band Dust Prophet, will be joining us on the program tomorrow. So today would be better. But if something suddenly came up, or maybe that guy Bruce won't let you do your report. I don't know. I hear a lot of stories about this guy Bruce, who apparently resides in the assisted living facility, the same assisted living facility as EZG. But 603-250-6007 is the number, 603-250-6007. Let's see. I do want to look at the Facebook live chat. Our friend Miriam Banish has joined us in the chat. Hello, Miriam. Let's see. John Hopwood is helpfully explaining something about he who shall not be named. So there you go. You're getting so I'm not going to talk about it on the show, of course. Oh, we do have a call incoming. And our friend Ron is on the line. Hi, Ron.
Yeah, hi, Matt. How you doing, buddy?
I'm well, sir. How are
Matt,
you?
Excellent. I'm glad to hear. Good show so far. I love, news. That's good stuff.
Thank you.
Kind of why I'm calling is if I know tomorrow's a big day for Paulie, the anniversary and all. If he's got any openings, and I'd love to go. And if he doesn't, that's cool. No harm done. And that's kind of that was it. So if he had his ears on, and there's an opening, I'd love to be part.
All right, very good. Well, hopefully he's listening, and we'll have an answer.
Thanks, my friend.
All right, Ron.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for the call. Bye-bye. All right, that was our friend Ron. Yes, tomorrow night, of course, the 2-year anniversary of Retro Spectrum Radio with Paulie C here at WMNH 95.3 FM. Remember, it is now a full 3 hours every Friday night from 8 to 11 p.m., and I am here as well as one of Paul's co-hosts on that show, along with our friends Dan Randall of Dan Randall and the Randlet and DJ Steve. Let's see. Jason Feddersen is in the actually we'll leave that. I don't want to some of that has to do with something I was talking about earlier. We'll leave that alone. But that does remind me, please make sure you vote for there's talk of fascism and Marsha Brady. Oh yeah, something suddenly came up. We have the we do have the clip of that. If I can find it quickly here. I'm not as quick at that as Peter. Peter is very Peter White of the Morning Show with Peter White is very, very quick with that. Especially when it comes to Brady Bunch stuff, because he loves the Brady Bunch.
Something suddenly came up.
There you go. Something suddenly came up. Yes. Jason Feddersen is asking, did Ron go to McDonald's with Shannon yet? Oh, that's a good question. Oh, Shannon's on the line, I think. Oh, wait a second. Sorry about that. Shannon?
Yes,
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Good. Someone in the chat room, I don't know if you heard, was just asking if you and Ron have gone to McDonald's yet.
Well, I was going to say I'm very upset that he didn't mention how good the sandwich was that I made him for lunch.
Oh, you made Ron a sandwich, did you?
But no, the reason why I called, and I can't Google this for its accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
I just remembered. Do you remember the movie Powder?
Yes, I've never actually seen it, but I am aware of it. That's the film with John Travolta, correct?
No.
Oh, okay. What am I thinking of?
I don't know, and I don't know who's in the movie to say.
Okay. All right.
But basically, at the end of it, the teacher says to the kid, Albert Einstein. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You can Google this. Albert Einstein said technology would take over humanity, but will humanity take over technology? I think that's the correct quote. I'm not positive, but that's what was said in the movie.
Yes.
And with all these bots and crap, it's not being in that world. It's just I see so much of what it's ruining.
What do you mean? What is it ruining?
What the internet's ruining. I mean, just people can't even talk to each other. A lot of times, they don't know how to speak or start a conversation.
I think that's somewhat overblown. Although, of course, as someone who is myself an introvert, obviously my extrovert comes out when I'm in front of a microphone or on a stage or so forth. But interpersonally, I'm somewhat of an introvert and a shy, quiet person. So I've always been that way myself, even before the internet. But yeah, I wouldn't. But so you just blame the internet? I mean, what's?
No, I'm not blaming the internet.
Oh, okay.
It's that people rely on it too much.
Rely on it too much. In what way?
Oh Lord, just in any way. I mean, I thought I couldn't spell because I don't spell well.
Mm-hmm.
But when I ask somebody, hey, how do you spell this? Oh, they have to look it up. It's just everything.
There's always been people who don't spell well, though. I've known many bad spellers, even before the internet.
Well, I don't know. It just seems like I don't know.
I do have that quote for you, though. Our friend Billy Painter from Outlaw Radio is in the chat room, and here's the Einstein quote. I fear the day when the technology overlaps with our humanity, the world will only have a generation of idiots. So that's the quote.
Oh, okay. That's different than the movie then. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I just want to say hi anyway.
All right, Shannon. Well, it's nice to hear from you.
And hello to Hevy Street.
Hello to who?
Hevy Street.
Hevy Street?
Herman Street.
Herman Street?
Yeah. Last time I called, you said hi. Somebody was in the chat room said hi, Shannon from Herman Street.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Yes, I do seem to vaguely oh, yes. Herman Street was in the chat. That's right. I remember now. It was an actual person, although I think they may have been a bot. We do have bots. I say to you, Shannon. I say to you, hashtag Shannon. We do have bots that interact with us in our Facebook live chat. But I love them. I pretend they're fully human.
That's creepy.
I love it. I love the bots.
Okay.
I'm a bot friendly host, Shannon. I think that bots should be allowed to get married. In fact, I'm pro bot marriage. I'm very progressive on these issues.
And make little bitty bops.
Yes, and I think bots and humans should be able to make little itty bitty bots together. I'm good with all of it, Shannon. Anything goes. You can identify as a bot if you'd like. I'm good with it.
Oh, geez, don't get me started on that. No,
you listen. I'm progressive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, you have a good show and have a good night.
All right, Shannon. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right, that was our friend Shannon, and that does open up a line for you. We're almost at the top of the hour, but if you'd like to get in with a quick call, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007 is the studio line. Of course, you can text me at 617-917-4476, tweet me at Matt Connerton, or send an email to matt@mattconnerton.com. As far as the internet, it's like anything, I think, like any technology. I think it's a wonderful thing, but it can be used certainly for nefarious purposes. Absolutely. Nick Murdoch in the chat says, I'm not a bot. I'm a real human. I like human activities such as using human lungs to exchange oxygen and doing the human act of eating food made for humans. Yes. Yes. John Hopwood says bots should take over the morning show. Oh my goodness. And then John said something else in the chat room that I'm afraid is strictly for the other program that I do, John. Of course, Matt Connerton Unsheathed, which is not carried here on WMNH, but it is behind a paywall. All right, let's do this. We are at the top of the hour. I'm going to play another because our friend Otto Kinzel from the band Dust Prophet is going to be joining us tomorrow on the show. We're very excited about that. And we will be debuting tomorrow. It will be the world radio premiere of the new song from Dust Prophet called Put to the Question. But we're going to save that for tomorrow. So I think for now, let's see. Well, we'll play the recent single, Dear Mrs. Bud. We'll give this a spin. I've played this on the show before. I got some positive feedback on it. Really good. And yeah, I like this project a lot. It's dark. It's heavy. It's good stuff. And very, by the way, appropriate for the month of Halloween. So there you go. Some good music. But yeah, so this is Dear Mrs. Bud, the most recent single, I believe, from Dust Prophet. And then after that, we'll show some love to our amazing sponsors. And then we'll be back with hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connerton Unleashed. Plenty more to come. Don't go away.
The weapon night. So sweet and tender lasting lights.
Something suddenly came up.
Oh, how she's dead, kicking by. I squeeze the light from her eyes. She cried for you before the fight. Yeah, so sweet and tender lasting light.
Come on down to the Hop Knot at 1000 Elm Street, Manchester's premier craft beer and gourmet pretzel bar. Tell us more, Trudy.
We make our dough fresh every day. We make a variety of styles of pretzels and serve craft beer, cocktails, and a few bottles of wine. We do the traditional pretzel, and we have multiple flavors for that. We also do stuffed pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, free dessert pretzels, and pretzel knots.
The Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street.
Bring your kitchen to life with Queen City Cabinetry, located at 87 Elm Street in the historic Sunbeam Mall in Manchester. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They can be reached at 603-222-2007 or on the web at queencitycabinetrynh.com. Come see the possibilities. Queen City Cabinetry, another proud sponsor of WMNH.
Clemento's Pizzeria, family friendly, awesome for a date night. Clemento's Pizzeria. For delivery, call 603-782-8450. Clemento's Pizzeria, the best pizza in town. 1875 South Willow Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. Best cocktails around. Come in as friends and leave as family.
This hour on WMNH is sponsored by CGI Business Solutions, located at 5 Dartmouth Drive in Auburn. They serve all your business needs, including employee benefits planning, corporate design and business administration, investments and wealth management, and customized business insurance solutions. Their phone number is 866-841-4600 or on the web at cgibusinesssolutions.com.
WMNH, rip the knob off.
Something suddenly came up.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Matt Connerton Unleashed. I was going to do the copy that Nick Murdoch. I was going to take another run at that Nick wrote in the chat room, but I can't find it now. It like scrolled up and I can't get it back. But although if you want to repost it, Nick, I don't know if you can. I'll give it another go. But in the meantime, yes. Hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connerton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester. And hello to all of our online listeners across the nation and around the globe. You can go to my website, mattconnerton.com, for all of your live streaming options, social media links, contact info, show archives, etc., etc. Today is Thursday, October 27, 2022. Don't forget, tonight is trivia night at the Hop Knot. They've got a lot going on there. Actually, I should go through the whole... They've got a whole big Halloween weekend planned at the Knot. That's what the young people call it, I think. They just call it the Knot. Let's see. Oh, a little update here from a few hours ago on social media. We know y'all love cheese pulls, so here's one with our Italian stuffed pretzel. We are full for trivia night tonight. Oh, if you snooze, you lose on that one. We are full for trivia night tonight, of course, hosted by the great Bill Cini. If you missed out this week, make sure to call us next Wednesday, starting at noon, to secure your spot for next Thursday night. Yeah, trivia is a very, very big thing there. Bill Cini, of course, does it every Thursday night at the Hop Knot. Wednesday mornings, he does it right here on WMNH on the morning show with Peter White, and then Thursday nights he's at the Hop Knot for it. And but they're all full tonight. Now that doesn't mean you can't go there. You can go there and enjoy a delicious gourmet pretzel or something from their ever burgeoning menu of craft beers. So you still have options, but they are all full for trivia. And just looking at the full week, it says here, warm yourself from the inside this week with a popper stuffed pretzel and some jalapeno honey. We've got a lot going on this week. Of course, tonight is trivia night, but that is full. Tomorrow they have trick or treating downtown from 3 to 6:30. So the Hop Knot is participating in that, and then live music from 7 to 9 with Taylor O'Donnell. Saturday they've got the Witches Dance at 3 p.m., which the whole family can participate in. And then they've got a Halloween party from 8 p.m. to midnight, which will include both a costume contest and karaoke, I believe. And then, of course, Sunday is a regular day, open noon to 5 p.m. So they have lots of cool stuff going on there at our amazing sponsor, the Hop Knot, in the Brady Sullivan at 1000 Elm Street, right across the street. Jason Fedderson in the chat room says, man, I can't wait for tomorrow. We watched both Psycho movies the other day, and we will be getting Halloween Retro Spectrum Radio with Paulie C. Yep, tomorrow's a big day here on the station. Just kind of remind everybody about that. Some programming notes. So tomorrow, of course, we celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Eric Pilcher's classic film review here on Matt Connerton Unleashed. It's been a full year of every Friday a different film review. And of course, for the month of October, Eric chose all Alfred Hitchcock films. So tomorrow will be Psycho, the original, I presume, not the remake. But yes, so Psycho will be tomorrow, and we'll be doing that at 4:30. Because at 5 p.m. we have a musical guest, our friend Otto Kinzel from the band Dust Prophet. And we played a couple of Dust Prophet songs today. But tomorrow on the show, Otto will be joining us at 5 p.m. We're going to talk about everything the band has been doing, the big show coming up November 5th with Sepsis and Day to Attend at Jewel. Jenny and I will be there as well for that. That's going to be a very big deal. But and it will be tomorrow the world radio premiere of the brand new single from the band Dust Prophet. It is called, let me make sure I've got the title right here. Put to the Question by Dust Prophet. So it will be the world radio premiere, the first time the song's been heard on the radio, right here tomorrow on Matt Connerton Unleashed. So that will all be fun. Then, of course, at 6 p.m., you've got Granite State of Mind with Rob Azevedo. And then at 8 p.m., from 8 to 11, you've got 3 hours of Retro Spectrum Radio with Paulie C. And tomorrow is the 2-year anniversary of Retro Spectrum Radio right here at WMNH. So that will be really cool, too. And, of course, it's the Halloween show, as Jason Fedderson mentioned in the chat room. So that'll be really cool. So looking forward to that. And Friday's definitely my favorite day here at WMNH. So I love my Fridays. 603-250-6007 is the studio line if you'd like to get in. 603-250-6007. You can also text me at 617-917-4476. Tweet me at Matt Connerton or send an email to Matt at mattconnerton.com. And of course, you can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat. But the best thing to do is to give us a call at 603-250-6007 so that we can fully enjoy your dulcet tones. This is something, so Easy G just sent me, during the break, sent me an article. He sends me some things. And this is from insider.com, and it actually made me laugh. I wasn't planning on getting into this today, and we won't spend too much time on it, but this made me laugh out loud when I read it. Again, this is from insider.com. A prospective juror in the Trump Org trial, the Trump organization, the Trump Org trial was excused after telling a judge Trump made him so sick to his guts that serving in the trial would be unhealthy. No, this is not from The Onion. This is real. Some bullet points from the article. A prospective juror in the trial against Trump Org said the former president made him sick. The man told a Manhattan judge, quote, "I don't feel like it's a very healthy thing for me to be here," unquote. He was excused from the high-profile state Supreme Court case. Some more details here. A man summoned for jury duty in the New York criminal tax fraud trial of former President Donald Trump's international real estate company was excused by a judge after saying the former president made him sick to his guts. The then prospective juror, a middle-aged man, told Justice Juan Manuel Merchan of the New York Supreme Court on day 3 of jury selection in the Manhattan trial that he had strong feelings about Trump that, quote, turned into a very visceral feeling in my gut, unquote. The man said he had not had feelings like that about the business person turned Republican politician in the 2 years since Trump was president. He told the judge, quote, "I don't feel like it's a very healthy thing for me to be here," unquote. He was then excused. The judge asked defense attorneys and prosecutors whether they had any objections to the man being dismissed, and they said no. The man declined to speak with reporters after he left the courtroom. As of Thursday afternoon, all 12 jurors were selected to serve on the panel in the high-profile state Supreme Court case. The group includes 2 women who said in court that they didn't like how Trump ran the country, but that they could still be fair and impartial jurors. The jury will determine whether Trump's namesake business, the Trump Organization, defrauded tax authorities. The company is accused of paying executives some of their compensation off the books in the form of untaxed perks like free apartments and cars. The Trump Organization, which has pleaded not guilty, is facing multiple counts of conspiracy, scheme to defraud, falsifying business records, and criminal tax fraud. Trump himself has ripped the charges against his company as a, quote, political witch hunt. So there you go. Well, that's one way to get out of jury duty. The defendant makes me sick. I can see where that would work. I can see where that would be someone you might dismiss. 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. Something quick. We were talking about it. We spent a lot of time on this on Tuesday. We've been talking about, well, prior to that, we talked about how the Republicans, some House Republican candidates and Kevin McCarthy, who is likely to become the speaker in the new term, the Republican, what will at that point be the majority, the Republican majority speaker in the new term after the midterm elections, is signaling that there might not be ongoing bottomless support for Ukraine. And then the Democrats, in their own way, getting in on the act with this disastrous letter that they sent to the president, which they have since withdrawn. The 30 Democrats signing off onto this letter, and then saying, "Oops," Pramila Jayapal saying, "Oops, that wasn't supposed to be released. That wasn't supposed to be sent. Someone on my staff made a mistake," which, of course, is a very hacky thing to do. A very political hack move, and hack in this point having more than one meaning, I suppose, more than one context. But and of course, does anyone believe her? No. I think what happened is the letter was sent, it was released to the public, and then, or I forget if it was released or leaked out, but it was made public. And then I think what happened is she panicked because the backlash was so intense, and I think it surprised her, and I think it probably surprised the other 29 Democrats who signed on this letter. But now, so they made a mess of it. Now, this is from thehill.com. This might have really damaged her in terms of her leadership prospects. We'll look at this quickly. It says here, an ill-timed push by a group of House progressives for a diplomatic agreement with Russia may have dashed the leadership prospects of the caucus's chairwoman, Representative Pramila Jayapal, Democrat of Washington. The move by members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus has infuriated Democrats and blunted the image of unity on Ukraine the party wanted to put forward in the final days of campaigning before the midterms. Quote, I look forward to next year's Progressive Caucus election and new leadership, unquote, said one senior Democratic strategist involved with the progressive candidates and on Capitol Hill. Quote, Jayapal has lost the faith of her colleagues, unquote. Jayapal, a liberal in her third term representing Seattle, has made it well known in recent weeks that she's eyeing a chance to enter the Democratic leadership ranks after the elections, when there could be an expensive top-down shakeup of the party brass. But the decision by her office to release a letter this week pressing President Biden to engage directly with Russia to bring the months-long conflict in Ukraine to a rapid end has dumbfounded many of Jayapal's colleagues who fear it weakened the president's hand and strengthened embattled Russian President Vladimir Putin's, just as Ukrainian forces have turned the tide of the conflict in their favor. Now, just to stop on that for a moment, and again, we discussed this at length on Tuesday's show when Jenny was here, but Putin's got to be watching this. And he sees Kevin McCarthy signaling that, because there is, let's be honest, there is a pro-Putin, pro-Russia wing of the Republican Party. I remember right after the invasion at CPAC, the next CPAC event, right after the invasion, they were actually chanting Putin, Putin. They were excited, but now, again, hopefully that wing is small, but then you also have people who are asking questions about, do we want to continue to support this effort? Do we want to write a blank check? So Kevin McCarthy signaling that when the Republicans take over in the House, that might be coming to an end, or at the very least, it might be diminishing. And then you have this mess with this letter. That's why I think if you notice the nuclear saber rattling that Putin had been doing seems to have been tamped down. And I think, and I don't know why others aren't connecting the dots, but I really think that Putin is looking at all of this on both the right and the left. Now, if you look at polling data, Americans broadly still support our support of Ukraine. But if you're seeing all these cracks in both major parties, you might be, if you're Putin, you might look and say, well, you know what? Okay, I'm going to forget the tactical nukes. I probably wasn't going to do that anyway. I'm just going to wait this out. I'm just going to keep trying to hold some territory, going to keep fighting. We're not retreating or any more than we're forced to by the Ukrainians, who, of course, have done a remarkable job at defending their country. But we can drag this out. John Hopwood has said on the show that he thinks that part of Putin's plan all along may have been to just drain the West, drain our resolve, drain NATO over time. And that may very well be coming to pass, because Putin may be looking at all of this and saying, look, they're already, regardless of what the polling data is, if their politicians are getting tired of this, then, we just have to keep going with it. And eventually that support for Ukraine by the West will stop. And that might be the way he's trying to play it now. So I don't know, and I don't why this letter would come out right before the midterms is odd. And again, I'm sorry, I don't buy her story that it wasn't supposed to come out, that it was a mistake. And she throws a staffer under the bus. No, take responsibility for it. See, that I think that will hurt her more than the letter itself, or whatever her intent was. And these other Democrats. Oh, is there a storm coming in? We've got I never know if that goes out, if you can hear it online or not. The EAS just went off. I don't hear anything, though. Might have just been a test. I wouldn't think there'd be a storm. It's a clear day outside. All right. Anyway. Oh, that was strange. Jason Fedderson says, I heard it. Yeah, I don't know why it went off, though. That was really odd. Okay. So, Crystal said something in the chat room about why would those, Crystal, our friend from Illinois, said, why would those 30 Democrats sign off on a letter that they didn't intend to release? BS that someone accidentally sent it. It was intentional. Otherwise, why write it and sign it? They think we are dumb. Yeah, I agree. It was intentional. And I think Jenny said the same thing on Tuesday. It was, all these Democrats, they signed off on it. Why would they do that? No, I think so too. I think there was backlash. It was immense, and there was panic. Simple as that, in my view. But yeah, this may have really hurt Pramila Jayapal, broadly seen as a rising star in the Democratic Party. It says here it also seems to have undermined her chances of winning their support for a leadership bid. It's a deadly error for her, said a former House leadership aide who keeps in touch with lawmakers across the caucus. That was a big screw up. People were pissed, like, what are we doing on messaging, unquote. By the way, I always say, I've said many times on the show, Democrats, in my view, are generally terrible at messaging. That's why when somebody who actually is good at messaging comes along, it's a big deal. They used to call Bill Clinton, and I'm sure there's people within the party who still refer to Bill Clinton as the explainer in chief, because he could explain things well, and Obama too had an ability to explain things well and pretty concisely, but it's relatively rare. Jenny in the chat says small craft advisory. Oh no! Is there what kind of a craft? Like a boat? Has a boat capsized in the Merrimack River? What is going on? It's all very confusing. All right. Well, and I don't know. All I heard was the tones. I didn't hear the actual. Usually then there's the National Weather Service has said blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. Jason Fedderson says, I say we line up all the old white men in politics and kick them in the balls. Well, yes, let's do that, actually. That would be interesting. There's more to this article, but it really gets into the weeds on what's going to happen to her. I'm not that invested in what happens to her politically, but this was a pretty colossal mistake, I would say. Let's see. We've got about 30 minutes left. I want to make sure we get this in because we started talking about it a little bit yesterday, but it's a very important issue. But the number again, 603-250-6007, if you would like to join us on the studio line, 603-250-6007. There is it would appear a possibility that, sorry, I was distracted. CNN says, sources, Kanye West wanted to name album after Hitler. Okay. And that's not The Onion. That's CNN. Alrighty. Well, Kanye West, we don't want to talk about him today. We need to give him a break. Give him a break. Oh, just a quick side note before we move on. Sorry, I don't mean to go backward, but we were talking about Ukraine, and I mentioned Putin seems to have tamped down on the nuclear saber rattling. The AP is reporting that Putin now says he will not use nuclear weapons in Ukraine. It says here, and then we'll move on to the other thing, I promise. It says here, Russian President Vladimir Putin today denied having any intentions of using nuclear weapons in Ukraine, but described the conflict there as part of alleged efforts by the West to secure its global domination, which he insisted are doomed to fail. Speaking at a conference of international foreign policy experts, Putin said it's pointless for Russia to strike Ukraine with nuclear weapons. He said, quote, we see no need for that. There is no point in that, neither political nor military, unquote. Well, I agree. And I'm glad to hear him say that. And he sounds like a rational actor when he says that, because so much of what What we wonder about Putin is he a rational actor? Is he lost his mind? What exactly is going on? But that's been part of why I've said all along, I don't see what the point would even be for Putin to use a tactical nuclear weapon unless he wanted to really take the risk that we would be so frightened by his escalation that we would then back down. But that's a hell of a risk to take. And the second he resorts to that, everything for him gets exponentially worse. Now, obviously, everything gets potentially worse for everybody, because then there's the potential to climb that ladder of escalation once a nuclear weapon has been unleashed. But the downsides far outweigh the upsides, any potential upsides. So I've been pretty confident all along that it would not come to that. My bigger worry as far as nukes would be any kind of a miscalculation or a mistake that's made, or if somehow, some way, just inadvertently, NATO gets into some sort of a direct confrontation with the Russians. And then there's the potential for escalation, which could be obviously catastrophic. But I'm glad to hear him say that. We have a call. Our friend Ron is on the line. Hi, Ron.
Matt, how would we know the difference between a conventional rocket and a nuclear? I mean, how I don't know. Since they all could be mobile, put on a mobile unit and fired anywhere. How do we know what's if there is an incoming, what type of rocket, what the payload is?
You mean once it's been detonated, how would we know? Or
no, not detonated, but I mean if it's flying through the air, how would you how do you say to yourself, wow, is that a nuke? Do we need to launch our nukes? You mean how do you know what's nuke or not?
Oh, you mean if Russia were to actually launch a strategic nuke, like an actual ICBM, how would we know what it was?
Well, yeah, like I say, they're like China's testing rockets all the time, and when it's in the air and it's flying, how do you know that it's? Well, I guess you would know with China because we're not at war with anybody. But I'm just saying, when a rocket has been fired, you've only got so many seconds to retaliate. Right. 20 minutes to whatever it is, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So how would you even know what's coming your way? And I don't mean necessarily firing at us. Let's just say if they fired at Ukraine, how would Ukraine know that? Oh my God, that's a nuke in the air. We got to launch ours. That type of thing.
Yeah, I suppose depending on how quickly it's done, you might not know. Jason Fedderson in the chat room says it has a sign on it. You have to get close to it, Ron. But
thanks a lot.
No, I assume though with the ability with our satellite technology and the ability to take collect images of really anything that's happening anywhere on the planet at this point, I would imagine that it's possible it's probably very possible to using that technology to identify exactly what a weapon is as it's in the air. But having said that, to your point, if they did launch something and it doesn't have far to go, if they're launching something from Russia into Ukraine, it doesn't have far to travel. So it's probably a matter of minutes. So it would be too late to really do anything about it. They could probably identify what it was. And of course, once it's detonated, you're going to know exactly what it was. Unfortunately, it would be just, again, catastrophic to even think about it. It's unimaginable. But it'd be too late to do anything about it. It would happen too quickly to do anything about it. Fortunately, as far as I know, unless there's something we're not being told, which is always possible, but as far as I know, American intelligence agencies have not reported any. Because you're going to know if the Russians are getting ready to actually take that step, you're going to know it because they will see, again, using satellite technology, which they use to monitor what's going on. They will see the movement of nuclear weapons. They will see nuclear weapons being moved into place, even just small tactical nukes, and they'll know something's going to happen potentially. But yeah, if something's launched, yeah, I mean, it would only take a few minutes and you wouldn't.
Well, who's to say though it doesn't come from a sub?
Yeah, that's true, Ron. Yeah, absolutely. And it very well probably would. And And yeah, you know what? Now that you mention it, if this was the point you were going for, which I realize now it probably was, yeah, if it comes from a sub, I mean, we still have, I think we have an ability to track where their submarines are, but that doesn't mean, yeah, I can see where they might be able to conceal something that's really going on using submarines. I mean, that is kind of the point, actually, using a submarine instead of a carrier that's on top of the water, something that's submerged. It's easier to hide, so you can hide what you're doing. Yeah, and it probably would come from a submarine, actually.
All righty.
All right, Ron. Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. No, Ron raises some good points there, yeah. Ooh, I hear a whole bunch of sirens. I hear a lot of sirens. Maybe that's why the EAS went off. They might be on their way to that small craft advisory. Jason Fedderson says in the chat, Matt, it could turn into a nuclear catastrophe and the USA will not be happy with Russia. That's true. That is true. There's also a lot of speculation about how we would respond to the use of a nuclear weapon by Russia, and I would vote for not responding with nukes. You know, we could respond conventionally, but I would not want to escalate that, obviously. But I just wanted to mention that Putin did publicly say we see no need for a nuclear weapon to be used. But that doesn't mean, but of course he also said he wasn't going to invade Ukraine, and then he invaded Ukraine. Okay, let me give the number one more time, and then I want to get this in before we run out of time. 603-250-6007. 603-250-6007. Wow, I hear even more sirens. My goodness. We had talked yesterday on the show briefly about House Republicans. And by the way, in the House of Representatives, you tend to get a lot more crazy people. The Senate, of course, is much smaller. You only get 2 senators per state, whereas in the House, it is proportioned by population and so forth. But you tend to, it's obviously it's a lower level office, the House of Representatives. So the barrier of entry is lower. So you tend to get crazy people, like you get on the right. You get people like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert, people who are sympathetic to QAnon, are very open about it. People like Madison Cawthorn, although he's gone, thank goodness. But you get the crazies, and it's a pretty crazy thing, in my opinion, to ever put the debt ceiling or the debt limit or the federal borrowing limit. It has different terms. Debt ceiling, I think, the most common term of art for what we're talking about. Pretty crazy to mess around with that. Now, for those who don't know, and I first became acquainted with this issue back in 2011, which is when I originally started this show. I've been doing this here for 5.5 years now at WMNH 95.3, but I started it as a podcast, just strictly online once a week back in the summer of 2011. And that's when I first really became acquainted with the issue of the debt limit. Now, what the debt limit or the debt ceiling, what it does is, the reason you raise it is because you have to increase the federal borrowing limit, because if you don't, what will happen is the country, the federal government will go into default. So you have to raise our limit to borrow money. Going into default, economists across the board, and you've got many different types of economists, different ideological, economics in some ways is almost as ideological as politics itself, right? But economists generally agree. You hear the word Armageddon a little bit these days. Well, how about economic Armageddon? If you allow the United States of America, for the first time in our country's history, to ever default, actually go into default on our national debt, it would likely trigger global economic Armageddon. It would be horrific. We came perilously close in 2011. I became almost obsessed with the issue. I was very frightened that we were actually going to do it. There were Republicans in the House. At that time, they were called the Tea Partiers. Today, I think they're called the Freedom Caucus. Similar political philosophies. there were Republicans in the House who actually thought it would be a good idea to allow the country to go into default. By the way, if you don't understand, listen, some of these Republicans at the time, by the way, what was really concerning to me was I would see them on, say, the Sunday morning talk shows talking about this, and they didn't seem to understand, many of them, the difference between the debt ceiling and the budget. See, if you believe, and I had on a show that I used to be a co-host on, Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades, I would have interactions with guests who would come on who didn't seem to get it, who would say things like, well, the federal government spends too much money. We need to stop that. We need to put a cap on that. We need to limit that, right? Why should we keep accruing more debt? And what you have to realize is there's a difference between the budget and the debt ceiling or the borrowing limit, right? So the federal budget is where you want to cut. If you honestly believe that the government spends too much money, then what you need to do is cut the federal budget so we spend less money, not cut the borrowing limit so that we go into default, because now you're talking about money we've already spent, but we have to service that debt or we go into default. And think of it this way. If you want to think about it on kind of a micro level, just in your own life, imagine, because people are struggling now with these shockingly increased energy bills. So imagine you're looking at your electric bill one month and you go, you know what? I think we're spending too much on electricity. This bill is just too high. We're spending too much on electricity in this household. So what do you do about it? Well, you try to find ways to cut down that bill. Maybe you make sure you're turning lights off, or maybe you unplug certain appliances, or whatever you can do to cut down that bill so you're spending less and so you have a lower bill, right? That's where you address it. What you don't do is you don't say, you know what, our electric bill is too high, so I'm just not going to pay the bill anymore. And we'll just go into default. We're just going to default on the bill. We're just not going to pay it anymore. Because the problem is, if you do that, then what's going to happen is you're going to wake up one morning, you're going to go to make your morning coffee, and the coffee maker is not going to turn on because your electricity got shut off because you didn't pay the bill. So, not a perfect analogy, but it's the best one I can think of. It's like that with the federal budget. If you want to, if you think the government's spending too much, you have to cut the budget itself. That's where you have to cut. You have to figure out ways to cut. You don't say, well, we're just not going to continue to service this debt and allow the country to go into default. That would be economically catastrophic. We've never done that ever in our nation's history, and it would be horrifying. But there were a lot of Republicans at the time in the House who thought that it would be perfectly fine if that happened, or at the very least, it would be perfectly fine to use the federal debt limit as a bargaining tool with Obama so we could cut some things. And it almost worked. Barack Obama almost agreed to, it was called the Grand Bargain, and it actually would have cut Social Security and Medicare and things like that. But he couldn't come to a deal with Mitch McConnell. But Obama kind of blinked on that one. Anyway, that's the past, but we should talk about where we are with this now. And by the way, I did say yesterday too on the show, I'm not, if you're a regular listener, I don't necessarily compliment our former president, Donald Trump, very much, but something Trump got right. And I genuinely appreciated this about him. When the subject of the debt ceiling came up when Trump was president, even though we had a Republican president, you might think, well, a Republican president, maybe we'll go into default. No, Trump always said, we don't mess with the debt ceiling. We raise the debt ceiling on schedule when it's time to do it, just like Ronald Reagan did, just like every Republican president before him, because this didn't used to be an issue. It used to just be a perfunctory thing until 2011 when the Tea Partiers in the House decided to make it a thing. Trump said, no, we don't mess with it. It's too dangerous. We're not going to use that as a bargaining chip. And he surrounded himself with people who agreed. Mick Mulvaney, I remember him on the Sunday morning talk show saying, nope. We are not using the debt ceiling as a bargaining chip. It is too dangerous. It is reckless. It is stupid. And we're not going to do that. We cannot ever allow default, and we cannot risk it by using it in negotiations for anything that we want. Well, it's time, my friends, to travel back to 2011, apparently, because here we are again. And by the way, I brought it up on the show yesterday, and I know Mike Doyle didn't believe it was happening, but no, these Republicans now are talking about it. And again, not Senate Republicans. So you're not going to hear Senate Republicans doing this because they know better. They get it. But the House, the House is where you get the crazy people. Politico reports Mace backs McCarthy on GOP's debt ceiling strategy. Kevin McCarthy, he's going to be most likely Speaker of the House. He thinks this is a great idea. So this is from Politico. Representative Nancy Mace said Sunday that she backed a GOP strategy to force a standoff over the debt ceiling should Republicans retake the House in November. The South Carolina Republican told CNN's Jake Tapper on State of the Union that she backed Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy on using debt limit negotiations to gain leverage over Democrats on spending cuts. Quote, I support that strategy because, look, at the end of the day, when COVID-19 happened, you had the federal government and state governments literally shut companies down. Businesses had to make tough decisions about how they were going to keep their doors open. The federal government just kept getting record revenue year over year and hasn't had to make those tough decisions, unquote. I don't understand the argument she's making. I don't understand this. I don't get that logic at all. And I suppose I'm not supposed to. It's not intended for me to understand. It's intended to just sound good for people who are interested in voting for her. Because when you're a politician, you can say really anything. It doesn't have to make sense. As long as you sound confident saying it, people who are prone to voting for you will support you. It says here, President Joe Biden on Friday vowed that he will not yield to GOP demands that Democrats cut entitlement programs like Medicare and Social Security in exchange for avoiding a debt ceiling standoff. Senator Bernie Sanders, chair of the Senate Budget Committee, on Sunday backed Biden's stance. Pressed by Tapper on the potential toll of such uncertainty on the economy and working people, Nancy Mace said, quote, well, we've seen Republicans for a year and a half now talk about more responsible spending. Looking at the deficit spending in these bills that have been passed, talking about how we can move this country forward, and we've been shut out. When we did the infrastructure bill on the House side last year, every Republican was shut out of being part of that discussion, unquote. Again, I don't have any idea what that has to do with the question Jake Tapper just asked her. But I'm sure she sounded very confident saying it, which is all that matters. She added, quote, so Republicans have tried to work with, reach across the aisle, and have been shut out of many of those conversations. And so I think that is a way to negotiate moving forward, unquote. It's a complete non-answer. Mace further cited a bill she had filed earlier this year seeking to balance the budget in 5 years. She said, quote, if we could do that, then we wouldn't need to use the threat of the debt ceiling as a negotiating tool, unquote. On Ukraine, Mace cautioned that while the war-ravaged country is important to American interests, the U.S. should not keep writing blank checks to foreign nations. Mace also said the U.S. should lift tariffs imposed on China under the Trump administration. She said, quote, lifting tariffs makes the costs of goods cheaper for every American. We need to look at more broadly the supply chain and incentivize companies to perhaps get out of China and come back to North America, unquote. Well, on that, we agree. I agree with her on that. I thought Trump getting us into that trade war was stupid and harmful, and I never understood what his strategy was on doing that. And she seems to be also disagreeing with that, and I agree with her. But the rest of it is just word salad stuff. She doesn't answer anything. Now, but yeah, I mean, there are Republicans talking about cutting, House candidates talking about potentially cutting Social Security and Medicare. Now, there's an op-ed written by he's a senior fellow emeritus, Norman J. Ornstein, who I just recently became aware of his work, but he wrote this on. This is for AEI, the American Enterprise Institute. .org. Oh, he wrote this originally for the Atlantic, but how far would a Republican majority go? Now, this kind of, we're not going to go through the whole thing, and we're almost out of time, but this kind of deals with this issue. So he refers to, right in the beginning, he refers to 2011 and what was going on in 2011. He said, in 2011, the new House Republican majority, egged on by Eric Cantor, remember him, and Kevin McCarthy, and led by radical Tea Party rightists such as Jason Chaffetz, I remember him, brought the U.S. to the brink of default. The disaster was headed off by a last-minute compromise between Speaker John Boehner, a normal, sane Republican, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who, by the way, Mitch McConnell, to his credit, he at one point wanted to codify in law that the debt ceiling is raised automatically. I don't remember whatever happened to that, but to his credit, and again, he's someone I don't go out of my way to give a lot of credit to, but he did want to, because he saw the folly in it and he saw the danger in it, and he wanted to, although then again, it was kind of his fault that this became an issue in 2011 to begin with, when he said that he thought the debt limit might be a hostage worth taking. I think his exact words in terms of negotiations. So no, I don't want to give him too much credit, but he was right when he said maybe we should just pass a law that says this happens automatically so we don't ever go through this exercise again, which that I agreed with, but of course he didn't get any traction with it. So Speaker John Boehner, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, and President Barack Obama, they had reached an agreement. A breach of the debt ceiling, meaning the loss of the full faith and credit of the United States, would have been catastrophic. But Chaffetz and many of his colleagues were more than willing to make that happen. In the aftermath, Chaffetz said, quote, "We weren't kidding around. We would have taken it down," unquote. As it was, the brinksmanship and delays had severe effects. The Dow fell 2,000 points in the months that followed, and borrowing costs for the federal government increased by an estimated $18.9 billion over 10 years, according to the Bipartisan Policy Center. Now, let me stop on that for a moment, because when we're talking about, they were openly talking about taking the country over the fiscal cliff into default, and the markets reacted badly, and the credit rating of the United States was downgraded. Does that sound familiar, like something that just happened recently in the UK? When Liz Truss started making pronouncements about what she was going to do and how potentially devastating what she was going to do was going to be, what happened? The markets reacted very badly and tanked, and people panicked, and she ended up resigning after only 44 days in office. So there is that, and that happened in 2011 as well. But if they're going to keep pushing this in the new term, is that going to happen again? And it ends up costing more money to service our debt long term as a result of it. Plus, the markets will tank. I mean, I suppose what they'll do is they'll just blame it on Biden, because he's the president, so everything gets blamed on him. But it's such a dangerous game to play. You shouldn't play chicken with the global economy like this. It goes on, just a little bit more of this. Chaffetz is now long gone from the House, but the Tea Party radicals, who a few years later formed the Freedom Caucus, because the existing right-wing caucus, the Republican Study Committee, was not right-wing enough, have moved from the fringe to the center among House Republicans. And if Republicans capture a majority in next month's midterm election, which they're sure to do, they will make the Tea Party group look like milquetoast moderates. The prospect of default, along with extended government shutdowns and disruptions and a hamstrung administration, will loom large. If there's one time-worn cliche about elections, is that the next one is the most significant in our lifetime. There's a reason to believe that is true this time, although the outcomes remain uncertain. One thing is clear: if Republicans win control of the House, the country will face a series of fundamental challenges much greater than we have had in any modern period of divided government. There's a lot more to this. It's a really good article, and I'll share it out on the Matt Connerton Unleashed Facebook page. But we're about out of time. There's too much to get into there, but it's very important. And I don't know I don't know how to get these people to stop being so reckless. But even talking about it, even threatening a default is a terrible idea. It's just really bad. All right, we do have to go. We are out of time. Don't forget, tomorrow on the show, we've got a big show tomorrow. We will have Eric Pilcher's classic film review. And for the month of October, he's been doing a different Alfred Hitchcock film every Friday for the month. And tomorrow, the film is Psycho. And it will be the 1-year anniversary of Eric's film reviews here on Matt Connerton Unleashed. That will be at 4:30 tomorrow, because at 5 p.m. we have our friend Otto Kinzel joining us from the band Dust Prophet and the world radio premiere of their brand new single. So tomorrow's a big day. And then, of course, in the evening, we have Retro Spectrum Radio with Paulie C., the 2-year anniversary of that program here at WMNH 95.3 FM. So lots going on. Thank you all so much for being here with me today. If you missed any part of today's show, it will be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org and at my website, mattconnerton.com. And that's it for me for now. I'm going to leave you with one more Dust Prophet track. It's not the new single. You got to wait till tomorrow to hear that. But this is a personal favorite of mine. This is Hourglass to close out today's Matt Connerton Unleashed. I'll talk to y'all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.